Item E, please.
Item 6E, adopt resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a funding agreement with the County of San Mateo for the award of Measure K funding in the amount of $150,000 to rehabilitate the Grandstand facility at the Lara Field located at San Bruno City Park and appropriate $150,000 of revenue and expenditure into the Lara Field Improvements Capital Project in fiscal year 2019-20.
City Manager.
Yes, so I'll give this presentation, Javon Grogan, City Manager, to the Mayor, members of Council, and the public. We're really here to talk about an exciting project that represents a partnership between four people: San Bruno Lions, the San Bruno Community Foundation, the county with Measure K funding, and the City of San Bruno. And so what we're here tonight to give a brief presentation on is a project that will receive significant funding from Measure K. And so our objective tonight is threefold. One, receive information on the rehabilitation of the Grandstand facility at Lara Field located in City Park. We're asking Council to adopt a resolution authorizing the City Manager to execute a funding agreement with the county in the award of Measure K funds for the amount of $150,000. And we'll talk about that shortly. And subject to their approval, appropriate those funds for use for the project. So our agenda, really quickly, we'll talk about the background, we'll talk about the project budget, we'll talk about the specific pot of Measure K funds that these are anticipated to be funded from, and then we will go into next steps. So the picture that's before you is the Grandstand facility. As we all know, it is a well-utilized facility in City Park that, like a number of our facilities, needs little tender loving care and has suffered from a lack of preventative and ongoing maintenance, largely due to the resources that are available to the city. And so how this project came about. It came about not because it was a funded capital improvement project. It was certainly on the need list, but it came about with the San Bruno Lions approaching the city with the idea to rehabilitate the interior concession stand. That concession stand sits under the Grandstand, and that project is estimated to cost $60,000. In hard costs, 25 of that, the Lions have received a grant from the San Bruno Community Foundation. The San Bruno Lions are set to contribute $35,000 in their own funds, and the labor for those interior concession stand renovations. However, as we begun talking to the Lions about their excellent community service project, and they went out and secured funds and are tossing in their own money, it became clearly apparent that that improvement really couldn't happen unless we address some of the water intrusion issues and roof leaks and damage to the roof and the grandstand that actually sits on top of that concession area. So staff undertook as a new project, in addition to the work plan, to really investigate what would be needed. And we found a number of things once we did an in-depth investigation. One, the concrete roof and sidewalls need to be sealed, repaired to eliminate the current water intrusion. All of the doors and windows to the Grandstand facility need to be replaced. The current bleachers, in order to fix the roof, have to be removed. And so given their current condition, there was a recommendation to replace those with new bleachers. And in addition, there's a number of cosmetic and minor repairs to landscaping, signage, fencing, and other areas sort of surrounding the grandstand area and actually on the facility. And so during the 1920 budget cycle, the City Council awarded $25,000 to help support efforts. And we were also well underway with working with the Lions to approach the county for funding, and Mayor Rico Medina and Councilmember Marty Medina were part of that effort to approach both Supervisor Canepa and Pine for some of their Measure K funds. And so really quickly, the estimated cost for this project is before you. And so total estimated cost is just under $175,000. That does not include the $60,000 for the interior concession stands that, again, will be done by the Lions. But an estimate of $75,000 for roof, structure, and exterior improvements, new aluminum bleachers of $36,000, replacing the doors and windows for $21,000, $18,000 for minor cosmetic upgrades, and just over $1,000 for replacing the alarm with contingency, $175,000. And so with Measure K, that's a half-cent sales tax countywide that was approved by county voters in November 2012 and extended in November 2016 for a total of 30 years. The county has a process where each year they allocate $7 million in one-time loans or grants to each of the 5 supervisory districts. So each supervisor receives approximately $1.4 million to recommend to the full Board of Supervisors that they be awarded either within their district or some other partnership. And so the City of San Bruno, with the Lions, approached both Supervisor Pine and Supervisor Canepa for $75,000 each to support this project. Both supervisors have committed to recommend it. It is tentatively scheduled to be on the September 17th County Board of Supervisors meeting. So should the City Council adopt the resolution tonight, we will turn around immediately in the morning and send the signed agreement that will appear on the September 17th Board of Supervisors meeting. And so, again, the request that is before the City Council tonight is to adopt a resolution authorizing the City Manager to execute a funding agreement with the County of San Mateo for the award of Measure K funds in the amount of $150,000 to rehabilitate the Grandstand facility at Tom Lara Field located in San Bruno City Park and appropriate $150,000 of revenue and expense into the Tom Lara Field Improvement Capital Project for the fiscal year 1920. We will also submit a signed funding agreement based on council action, should council approve it. And again, it is set to go before the County Board of Supervisors this month, September 17th. That concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Questions from council? None? Laura? I don't see any lights, so.
Through the chair, so Javon, this is City Manager Javon Grogan. It's a great project, and it's I think it's excellent use of Measure K funding. So Measure K funding has been out there since 2012. And explain a little bit how that works. You can't just say, hey, we'd like to do this project, or do you, I guess maybe the question is more why the city hasn't used it in the past.
So the city has used it in the past. We currently fund a position for Life Moves. It's a position that there is supervisor. So we currently have received Measure K funding to fund a position with Life Moves. We are also looking at Measure K funding for the Aquatic and Rec Center to potentially cover some costs with that. But Measure K has a funding cycle, and we are looking at upcoming funding cycles to apply for those funds.
Just clarify. On the slide it said 212, but it said 217 is when they started getting the allocations. So that's...
Yeah, so...
That was confusing.
The specific supervisory allocations was not in 2012.
Correct.
That was later.
2017. Just to clarify on the Life Moves, just because I don't know that everybody knows what we're discussing. For us dealing with the homeless, we have Life Moves that assist South City, San Bruno, et cetera. And they allocate one person. And obviously, as we know, there's a need. And they actually go to the person trying to get them off the street, trying to get services and do what we can, right? And be compassionate. However, the need is greater. So through a grant, it went ahead and it had a second person. Well, that is about to expire in a month or so. So another source that Supervisor Pine has concurred is to continue that second allocated caseworker from Life Moves is that he's committed that to the Vice Mayor and I when we were at an ad hoc committee for that, which has been in the works. And when I was on the phone with him this afternoon, he has reaffirmed that is, again, as he says, I've already committed, and again, you have that. And so, but I just wanted to clarify that. Marty, sorry.
Yes. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Mayor. I know the Lions originated this, but we also, as a Lion, it was great to have the Mayor also speak to our supervisors, and this is a great way that we collaborated and were able to hopefully bring something forward that is going to benefit our whole community. The Lions will be paying for all of the interior improvements with the $25,000 as stated, and that's why we sell hot dogs and burgers and to return back to our community something that's needed. So I'm very thankful and I'm very hopeful that this will pass, and looking forward to future collaborations. So thank you, everybody.
Other questions, comments? Michael?
Through the chair, just one comment. Both Dave Pine and Dave Canepa have been really good friends to San Bruno, and they're here in the community often. They participate in a lot of things here, and so I just kind of wanted to acknowledge their ongoing support of the city of San Bruno and this project specifically. So it's a great collaboration.
No, and then all I was going to say is I want to thank staff too, because it's one thing, but staff put together and got the breakdown of the costs, formulated a letter that I reviewed with Marty, but just needed to sign, and then following up with the supervisors, and they both have been very supportive. And I can remember when we dedicated, believe it or not, it goes back a ways, dedicated that to Tom Lara when Quentin Kopp was in Sacramento and came down and basically kind of led it with Mr. Lara at the time. With that said, when I was a young man at Parks and Rec, nothing's been done since, so more or less. So it is time, and it obviously has the need, and we are appreciative, as Mr. Salazar said, to both supervisors, Canepa and Pine, for stepping forward, doing that. With that said, if this resolution passes, they have a pending draft agenda, which staff would send it to them because it goes out Thursday. It needs to go to the full board as a procedural matter, and then the board would vote on it the 17th for approval. Any action by council?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second. Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Medina?
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar?
Aye.
Vice Mayor O'Connell?
Aye.
Mayor Medina?
Aye.
Motion carries.